About 15 minutes back, dead body outside. John Merchant on Waldo is the
I swear I could scream at this thing right now. Okay. Welcome to Ladies of the Paranormal World. Ladies and gentlemen, you are here with your host, Dark Angel, Wendigo, and Skinwalker, and today our VVIP, Denice. Denise is
Hi,
a
everybody.
paranormal investigator, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself, her show, and what she does. So, Denise, why don't you go ahead and take the floor? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Hi, Angel.
So, hi, everybody. My name is Denise. I live in Western New York. I live in a suburb of Buffalo, New York. It is on the opposite side of New York City, and I know I have never actually been to New York City. So, I have been a paranormal investigator for about 10 years. I belong to the group Haunted in New York. They are based out of Albany, New York, and I am their lead investigator. And I also run the group the side of Western New York. So we actually do investigations of both sides. So, and every once in a while, I do travel to the other side of the state, and I do help them with investigations. We do a lot over Facebook investigators, our Facebook Messenger. Sorry. And we compare evidence. We post things online, so that way we're all involved in an investigation, even if I can't be there in person. And I also do investigate on my own. I do have a Facebook group and a YouTube channel called Seeking Spirit. And I post a lot of stuff on there. I post a lot of investigations on my YouTube channel. I try to do every Thursday. I try to do video tutorials of what I use in my investigations. So I have a lot of YouTube channels or a lot of YouTube videos on there. And I love to go out and I love to investigate. I love to just check out the paranormal. Sometimes I'll bring my equipment to work and we'll check out where I work. We'll just do things low key. But so I love paranormal. It is my passion, and I love to check it out all the time.
All right. Well, my passion also happens to be anything paranormal or unknown, unexplained. Mysteries are some of the greatest secrets in the world. Um, what got you into the paranormal field? What was your very first experience that kind of really grabbed you?
So, like as I was a kid growing up in the '90s, I did watch Ghost Hunters. That was the really start of it. And I always had that curiosity about it. And then back in the early 2000s, it wasn't quite a paranormal experience, but it was sort of was. I lived at home. I lived at home at the time. I've actually lived in my house my entire life. My mother passed away in 2003, and before she passed away, she had a dog, and it was like her dog. The dog slept with her all the time. She followed around the house, everything. And when my mom passed away, the dog, was still around, and so was my father. But the funny thing is, my dog would not sleep with my dad. The dog would come upstairs and sleep with me.
Oh,
And you never knew what. I mean, the dog slept in the same bed as my parents for 10 years or however long we had that dog. And all of a sudden, after my mom passed, the dog stopped sleeping with them. So the dog stopped with me, and then about 5 years later, 4 or 5 years later, my dad passed away in 2007. And my dog refused to come upstairs and sleep with me. It was so weird because my dog, I would pick her up, bring her, and I would put her in bed with me, and I'd be laying in bed. I would just have my little nightstand lamp on, and that was it. All the windows closed, so there's, no shadows, no nothing moving around, nothing. My dog would sit on the corner of the bed, and she would stare at the corner and look around. I don't know what she was looking at. And then she'd run away, and she would not sleep with me anymore. And, as I got more into the paranormal, for me, I believe personally that, after my mom passed, she was there looking out for my dad, and it kind of freaked the dog out. And then when my dad passed, they were there looking after me in my room and freaked the dog out. So that was when it really started to pique my interest. And then a couple of years, like a year or two later, my friend Debbie and I, we went to this place called the Lockport Cave. And it's a tourist attraction. And in the Lockport, we have the Erie Canal. And back in the day, what they did is they used the water from the Erie Canal to use to um, electrify all of the machines for all the factories along the canal. So
right.
they had all these big tunnels dug out where all the water would go through. So the Lockport Caves, they do historic tours, and they actually take you inside the caves where the water was flowing.
Oh, okay.
Around Halloween time, they do lantern tours at night. So you actually get to walk along Lake Erie Canal with a lantern, and you go into the cave, and they tell you about the darker side of the history. So they tell you about the deaths, they tell you about the hauntings. Like the people that used to work there, like they all have ghost stories. Like I remember one that I remember, they said that they had a field trip of a school class, and it just happened to be like it was their period, like it was they were all dressed up in period outfits. So they, when you get on the boat, because there's part of the tour where you do a boat ride, and you
Right.
get on the boat, and the tour guide has to count at the beginning of the ride, when you get to the end of the tunnel, and then back, so that way they know no the kids have fallen out. And he
Right.
said that when he counted at the beginning of the time, he got a certain number. Got to the end, he had one plus. Got back to the beginning for his third count, and had the count he had originally had. So he counted an extra child somewhere in there.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
had to be a ghost. So that really, between those a couple experiences, that really sparked my interest. And after the Lantern Cave tour, my friend Debbie and I, we were like, oh, we should really start investigating. So then there we went to Rolling Hills, and from there it just went on, and we went to several different places, and that's where it started.
Okay, that sounds pretty awesome. Now, with Rolling
Mm-hmm.
Hills, where's that located, and what kind of experiences did you have at Rolling Hills, and did it kind of firm your passion for investigating?
Yes, definitely. So Rolling Hills is in Bethany, New York. It's outside of Batavia. So if you kind of think of New York State, Buffalo is all the way to the left of the state, and then you have Syracuse in the middle. Rochester and Bethany is kind of like halfway between me and Syracuse. So, and we went there. Our first time we went, I went there twice actually. The first time we went there, we were on a public tour, and I'll tell you, we had never done any investigating, nothing. All we went with was a digital voice recorder and a mag flashlight. And that was, and you know, because I mean, I had learned about those watching ghost hunters and stuff, so that's what we took. And at first, we really didn't get anything, just some creepy vibes. In the basement, they have the morgue, and they actually have the embalming table still. And it's really cool because you can lay on the embalming table, and of course, you know, me being the crazy person I am, I did. And when I laid on it, you could actually feel like I felt pressure on my chest, like someone was doing chest compressions. And they also have in the basement, in the morgue, they have an old suit. It was probably from the 40s or the 50s. Mm-hmm. And it's hanging from the ceiling on a like a fishing hook. Now, mind you, this is a basement. There's no windows. There's no heat in the building either. So there would be no reason why this coat would move. Okay.
Okay.
But this coat, you would ask questions and it would turn on command. So if it was slowly turning clockwise, you would say, can you move the coat the other way? And it would stop and it would turn the other way.
Oh, wow.
So that's
like someone was moving it.
Exactly. So that was really cool. And then we were in, they have this large room and they use it back when the asylum was open, they used it for funerals. So there was like an organ in there and there was actually a casket in there. And so you can imagine this long room and it's got folding chairs, a casket at one end and an organ on the other end. So we just set up our flashlight on one of the chairs in the middle of the room and we went and sat towards the back and we're just asking questions. Now I tell you, the flashlight turned on, first time ever. We jumped and we screamed like little girls. It was actually quite funny. You know, but I mean, it was fun. We had a great interaction with the person, whoever was there. And then also there was this part where like the butcher worked out of, so he would cut meat there and stuff like that. And we had some really great interactions with the flashlight with the butcher that used to work there. And it was funny because like I had been up for like 20 hours. I had worked the day before, the night before, like I worked all day. So we're asking crazy questions. We're like, do you like chicken? Do you like meat? But I mean, it was a really fun interaction with them. It's funny because I posted that clip on Facebook somewhere. Every once in a while, it'll come up on my memory, and I'll listen to it, and I'll just have a really good laugh with it. So.
Oh, that's funny. You know, it's kind of like almost you didn't know what to ask them, so you just started asking what they like to eat.
Exactly. That's it.
That's awesome. Wendigo, Skinwalker, how about you guys? You got any questions? I got a ton, but I got to make sure that these guys get in there too.
You got any questions? I don't got any.
I love how Skinwalker looks like death right now. In a red
He's tired.
He's tired. You slept through the last interview. I don't want to hear it.
You don't talk about that. He's doing school stuff all morning. Stuff.
All right. Well, since they don't have a question, I'm going to ask your 10 years of experience. Has there ever been a place where you've gone and you've stepped into a room and you can feel the atmosphere change almost as though on cue?
Yes. And I'm going to say that's going to be at Rolling Hills, or not Rolling Hills, that's going to be at Iron Island Museum. And that's in Buffalo. It's in Lovejoy. And Iron Island is a really cool place to go because it was built in the early 1900s and it was originally it was a church. And then after like it kind of came out of the church, it became a funeral home. And then after it came out, the funeral director, when he decided he was going to close down, he actually donated the building to the Lovejoy Historical Society. And they created a museum. And one of the rooms in there, they call it the altar room. And what happens, and it's got all sorts of different type of artifacts in there. Like the whole museum is full of Buffalo, New York artifacts. And but in this room, one of the old churches had closed down, and they actually took the altar out of the church and put it in this room. And they literally had to cut a hole in the ceiling to get this altar in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and like you just go in there and it's a different vibe. It's just more like of an eerie vibe. Like I remember there'll be times in there where like we'll be investigating and I'll be like, let's go to that room later. Like I don't want to go in there right now because it has a really, really weird vibe. Like nothing bad, but just weird.
Welcome, Ryan. Good to see you, honey. He says good vibes. So in this altar room, would you say that it was kind of a malevolent presence or unwelcoming?
Not unwelcoming, but I think more of like a shy spirit that doesn't really want to talk. Behind the altar room, there's a little tiny room, and they call it the central terminal room. And above that is it's an opening that takes you up to like the loft area. And they don't let anybody up there anymore because it's unsafe because you can fall through the ceiling. But you can pop your head up there, and there is a known spirit up there that does hang out up there, and like he won't come down. He's very shy, but he does stay up there. And usually when I go to Iron Island Museum, I will put a digital voice recorder up at the loft area,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll leave it run for the whole time. And you can hear coughs, you can hear footsteps, you can hear things moving around up there. So it's really cool. So you know there is something up there, but it's just got kind of like a creepy vibe.
Go. Sorry, 1 second, my kid.
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
He waits until I'm in the middle of doing this to start trying to tell me about his school stuff. You had all day, dude. Okay, so in your experiences, have you ever gone to any place that you would consider possessed or demonically attached? Now, I know they say spirits can attach to inanimate objects, but they can attach themselves to a person or place in time. Have you ever had an experience with a malevolent or demonic entity?
No, I am not.
Well, thank God for that. I always ask,
Exactly.
so that's one of my questions. Okay, so in your past experiences, what piece of equipment would you say would be your favorite? I know you and I talked a little bit about that prior to this, and I know you had mentioned dowsing rods.
Yep.
Is that, would you say, your favorite piece of equipment to use, or one of your favorite pieces of equipment to use?
I'm going to say that's probably my most favorite to use. Like, I love to pull them out and use them, especially when we're investigating somewhere and we're not getting activity with another piece of equipment. I love to pull them out because most times I will get activity with them. I think it was last year, I went to this place called the Bergen House, and it's an older house. They have a lot of older spirits on the property, and we weren't really getting much of anything. And I pulled out the dowsing rods, and I had instant activity on it. So, and that's why I like to use them, is because sometimes they're old school. You know, sometimes we talk to spirits that are older and that don't know, our technology nowadays. But think about it. If you're talking to a spirit from, like, say, the 1950s, they're not going to know, what a cell phone is. They're not going to know what some of our fancy gadgets are, but they might know what a dowsing rod. And that's why I love to use it, is because they are so basic.
Right, exactly. Now, have you used any of it was what's considered the very first EMF? Uh, it's kind of like this jar with a little metal. Have you
Mm-hmm.
tried using these
No,
forms of communication or anything older than dowsing rods?
nope. Probably dowsing rods are it. And then pretty much everything else I use is pretty modern.
Okay. Now, do you or have you used spirit boxes? And if you've used spirit boxes, what's your take on them? What do you feel about them?
So I actually do have an SB7 spirit box. When I first got it, I didn't really like it because they're really hard to hear. Like, I'm not one to be able to just listen to it and pick up to it, pick up the words right away. I do, when I do use it, I tend to use my digital voice recorder so that way I can go back and I can pick it, listen to it. I clean it. I use the audio program, Ocean Audio, and I'll put it through there, so I'll clean it up and slow it down so that way I can hear it. But for me, spirit boxes are really hard to hear, so they're not my favorite to use, but I do like to use them in investigations. And then I do have a couple of, I do have an app on my phone. It's called Echo Box. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It is
I
an app.
know a lot. I've used and tried a lot of different cell phone spirit boxes that to me kind of spit out random words and
Yep.
are a lot more pareidolia bogus than anything. So I have not tried Echo Box yet, and I'm really skeptical of them personally. That's just me.
So I am like you. I'm very skeptical of them, and I personally don't like to use them until I went to the Hinsdale House last year, and the group that I went with, they were using Echo Box, and we used it was the essay experiment.
I have used GhostTube, Ryan. I think this is also directed at you, dear. Have you ever
Mm-hmm.
used the GhostTube, and what do you feel on that one? I've used it, and again, it's another one of those ones that I'm just very skeptical of.
Uh, I am like you. I'm very skeptical of that one. I actually do have it on my phone just to play with, but I don't personally take it personally because I don't believe in it. But like I said, the Echo Box, when we used it at the Hinsdale House, what we did is we had two Echo Boxes going on two different tablets, and we had noise canceling Bluetooth headphones, and we had two people upstairs, and then we were asking questions downstairs. And and we had a group of people upstairs that would like relay the message. Because at the Hinsdale House, they have a vent in the middle of the floor upstairs, and it goes into the living room. And that's basically how they heat the house, is through that vent. So you can talk through the vent. And I actually personally did both ends of it. I asked questions, and then I did the headphones because I wanted to see for myself. Can you hear the questions being asked, or can you not? I can personally tell you I could not hear any questions. All I could hear is just the random stuff spitting out.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that really got me to buy this app is we said, hey, can you say the word pumpkin? And both people upstairs said the word pumpkin.
Oh.
Yes. Like,
Okay.
straight out, you could hear it. And I actually, once I bought it, I used it on an investigation that I did for Haunted in New York, and I used it at a residential house. And one of the questions I asked was, can you tell me the homeowner's name? And it said yes. And then I said, can you tell me what the name is? And it said the homeowner's name.
Okay.
And you can hear it clear as day.
Ryan says it is legit because what I see with my eyes, the spirit, is what outlines on the app. Okay, so are you talking about the Ghost Tube
SLS camera?
or the what she said. Because those I can believe because it's hard to map in something that's not there without a skeletal structure. It's really hard to fake it. So those ones I'm a little more like I lean more towards believing in it. It's the voice boxes that I'm more skeptical of. But if you're talking about like the Connect, what are they called? Oh, not coming to me right now.
The ESP one. Yeah, not the spirit. So
Okay,
he's talking
yeah,
about the
no.
SLS version.
Okay.
Yeah.
The spirit, the when I say ghost tube, I thought you were asking about the spirit box. The spirit box itself, I'm extremely skeptical of. However, the readers where it shows the stick figures of people without bodies, those I'm more, I believe, more in. Um, but okay, so the Echo Box, you used it in another investigation. Is there another investigation that really kind of stands out to you over the years?
Um, Trying to think. Another place that I love to go to is called Greystone Manor. It's bed and breakfast, and I love to go there because not only is it a great place to investigate, but you can also stay overnight and you get breakfast for free, and it's really cool because you can get, if you rent the place out for the entire night, you can get there at like 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You can check out, the property and the rooms while it's daytime, so you can see what you're investigating, and then you can investigate all night long. You can stay up till 7 o'clock in the morning if you want. It's a really great place to investigate. And the last time, I've been there several times, and the last time we did a private investigation, we were investigating upstairs on the second floor, and we were investigating the green room, and we were getting everything set up. So we were just getting all our equipment, and it was me and one of my other friends, Sharon. And I walked out in the hall to put some equipment in the hallway out because they have been known to have activity in the hallway. And we do have to be careful because she does have cats and she allows her cats to walk around. So, but we're aware of this. So as I'm putting the equipment down in the hallway, I see this black shadow coming up the hallway. And the way that the house is set up is like on the other end of the hallway, there's a door and it goes to the owner's living quarters because they have it separate. They stay in one part of the house, and then, when we're investigating, we get the whole rest of the house. And she has a little cutout hole in the bottom of the door in between her section and our section. So as I was setting up my equipment, I saw this black mass coming up the hallway, and I thought it was a cat. So I said to my friend Sharon, I said, "Hey Sharon, watch out, there's a cat coming in the room," because I saw the shadow come up and go into the hall or go into the room. And when I saw it go in the room, it walked down to the end of the bed, and then it went underneath the bed. So I said to my friend Sharon, I'm like, "Well, we got to get this cat out. I'm not going to investigate with the cat." So we turned the light on to see where the cat was, and we lifted up the bed skirt. But underneath the bed was a mattress. Like, you couldn't even get underneath the bed. So we looked all around. We looked everywhere for this cat. We could not find a cat. There was no cat upstairs.
Oh,
So
wow.
we're like, well, that's really strange. So, I'm thinking, did we just see like a shadow of a black spirit cat? So the next morning during breakfast, we asked Heather, who's the owner, about, if she has spirits of animals in the house. And she told us that when her and her husband first moved in and they were renovating the house, they slept in that room. And she said that they often had a spirit of a cat hop up on their bed, and they would like leave the bed so that way to make themselves comfortable, and they could feel that cat walking across the bed. So right there was where, my black mass of a shadow cat, was validated. So I thought that was really cool.
Melissa says the ghost kitty is my favorite experience. Oh, this must be one of yours. Hi.
That's my sister. Hi, Melissa.
Uh, Now this ghost spirit. So you both were on this investigation?
No, my sister was not on there, but Melissa knows that I do talk about that often because it's one of my favorite experiences. I've never seen a shadow before, so.
Now, have you ever had experiences with any other shadow figures? Because in my experience, from what I've felt and what I know, shadow figures versus shadows, there's kind of a big difference, and a lot of people tend to link them all together in one big group. The thing with spirits of any kind is you have your light spirits, you have your negative spirits, you have your dark spirits, then you have your malevolent entities and your demonic entities. And they're all very different from each other. And generally, shadow figures tend to be lumped along with more dark entities or negative entities. Have you ever come in contact with a dark or negative entity? Because again, when I talk about dark entities and negative entities, I'm talking about someone who died of a traumatic death,
Yep.
somebody who died suddenly and unexpectedly. Hi, Melissa, by the way. Um, but I'm not saying that they're demonic, because demonic entities are out to do harm. They want to do harm. They want to feed off of the fear that's created when they do so. It's totally different than an entity that doesn't want you there. Have you had any experiences with dark or negative entities that don't want, or dark spirits that don't want you there? Like you walk in and you feel like you just shouldn't be there.
I'm going to say no. I know at the Hinsdale house, um, I've actually only been there once. There is known to be some darker spirits there, but when I was there, we did not come across it.
Ryan says shadow people tend to just be there. There's usually something else hiding behind them, and this is very true. They
Mm-hmm.
just tend to kind of hang out. You can see them. They kind of tend to give off scary vibes. You know, they don't feel super comfortable to be around, but there's usually something more powerful behind it. So yeah, I definitely agree with Ryan on that. I myself have had my own experience with demonic attachments, and I don't mean dark spirits or negative. I mean demonic outright attachments. So we know the difference. We definitely feel the difference. Now, I ask this to everybody because I am completely and utterly against Ouija boards, but I ask it anyway. What is your take on Ouija boards and their use of them? In my professional opinion, it opens up a portal to something that you don't know what you're inviting in. You're making yourself vulnerable to it, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. What about you? How do you feel about that?
So I've never used a Ouija board. I'm very curious, and I keep telling myself I want to buy one, but I do know that it can be very harmful, and that is probably part. That's probably the reason why deep down I really have never bought one, is because I know they can be harmful. So, but I know in Western New York there is this place that's called Paranormal Oddities. There's actually a store that sells all paranormal equipment. It sells incense. It sells all that stuff, and he also does have a little venue, and he like does classes. He has like guest speakers, like Dustin Perry, who used to be on Ghost Hunters International and Ghost Hunters. He actually came and spoke there. And one of the things that he does is he actually teaches Ouija board classes and how to use it the correct way.
Right.
So,
Well, because when you use a spirit board or a Ouija board, you're opening up basically a
mm-hmm.
doorway into the spirit realm.
Yep.
But if you open it, you also open yourself. You're opening
Yep.
yourself in a lot of ways that can make you extremely vulnerable to negative attachments. Professionally, I don't prefer to use them, and I don't really suggest using them. What you do is, that's your, you know,
Yep.
but personally, I think they're too dangerous to play with, especially if you don't know how to close the doorway that you've opened.
Yep.
Ryan
Yep.
says, if you are going to use a Ouija board, make your own. Never buy a pre-made one. You don't know what may have been done to it, and even if it was commercially made. And I have to agree with that again.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if there's something that's already been attached to that board, because it becomes a conduit after it's been used. So you don't
Yep.
know what may have been drawn in by that board if you get it from. Uh, and this is where people tend to go and make that mistake, is they'll get them at thrift shops, or they'll get them at places where you can buy pre-owned things.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's where you generally end up with some kind of attachment to you, is because there was already an attachment to that Ouija board, and now it's
Yep.
decided that you're its new toy. So again, I'm not a huge fan of them. Now, when it comes to contacting the spirit world, there are a lot of different things that we say, a lot of different things that we do. How do you feel about provocation? Personally, I think provoking is dangerous, but again, that's just me.
I will never do it. I am totally against it, because I think that when we go out and we do paranormal investigations, we're looking to speak to spirits. Spirits are ultimately people that used to live, for the most part. I mean, you do have your angels and your elementals and all that other stuff, but for the most part, we're looking to reach out to people who have passed on. Now, if I'm a living person, I'm not going to go screaming and yelling at my boyfriend because I want him to talk to me. Like, that's not what you do in living. So why would you do it to a spirit? Like, that's just very disrespectful.
Right.
Like, when I go in, I am super, extremely respectful of them. If they don't want to talk to me, well, then that's fine. You know, maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they don't want to talk to me. Maybe they don't have a good vibe about me. You know, you don't understand. And if you do provoke, to me, I think you're opening yourself up, you know, for some uh, negative things. Like, oh, they could, we don't know what spirits can do, what can't do. You know, they can scratch you, they can definitely do other things to you. And if you provoke, you're opening yourself up to that.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, I will never do it.
Okay, and that leads into my next question. Have you ever had, since you brought that into to to play, I'm going to go ahead and go with that question. Have you ever had anything physically happen, whether you were touched, had your hair pulled, been scratched, have burning sensations? Do you walk into a room and have the hair stand on end, which are all we know in the paranormal community? Signs that you're generally not alone.
When I was at Iron Island Museum, I think 2 years ago, I'm sure it had to be 2 years ago now. We were in the basement, and there's a room in the basement, and it used to be full of dirt. It was like completely filled in, and you couldn't even get back there. And they wanted to see what was in the dirt, so they scooped out all the dirt in the middle. So when you go in this room, there's still dirt all the way up, like probably like shoulder high on the sides, but the middle is empty. And they have a chair, like a folding chair in there. And there is a known spirit, they call it the lady in white, that haunts that area. And so when I went on a private investigation there 2 years ago, we were in there and we were getting lots of activity. We were getting voices out of the spirit box. I had EMS going off, I had the flashlight going off. It was like crazy for like 20 to 30 minutes. And at one point, I was sitting in the chair, and there was a couple of other folks with us. And the one guy was standing in the doorway. Now, mind you, I was in this room by myself, and everybody was standing in the doorway.
Mm-hmm.
And the one gentleman was like, "If you're
No.
here, can you touch her? Can you touch Denise?" And I've never been touched before, so I'm like, "Okay, whatever." Nothing happened. And then they went upstairs, so it was just me and my one friend downstairs. And all of a sudden, I'm just asking questions, and out of the blue, I feel this hand go in between like the top of the chair and the bottom of the chair, and it touches me right in the nook of my back, right in the bottom of my back. And I like, it wasn't like a bad touch. It was just like I could feel pressure on my back, like someone touched me to get their attention. I'll tell you, I took off screaming. It was so funny. I know the rule of thumb is, you know, if you're investigating and get touched, you don't run, but I ran. And it was funny because I screamed, and the guys that were upstairs heard me scream, and they came run downstairs. And I mean, we all laughed about it afterwards. But
I'm sure.
it was definitely a very interesting experience, I can tell you that.
I was going to say, it probably was pretty funny to think about later on. But yeah, you're right. One of the things that they tell you when you start feeling things like being touched, the last thing you really want to do is run, because it can have one of two effects. It could stop the energy altogether.
Yep.
Or it could, rather than stop, increase the activity in a negative way.
Yep.
So the two reasons, and you broke the one.
I did.
Paranormal investigations. Now, when you have experiences, can you go ahead and explain to the audience what that feels like? Because a lot of people, you know, they may have had small experiences, but they're not going out there and looking for it. As to where investigators, we look for it. We want to feel these things. We want to experience it, because for us, it's more confirmation of something other than just us. And let's be honest, it's pretty naive to think that once energy disperses, it's just dispersed. It's gone. The human body is made of energy. So it's got to go somewhere. why don't you explain to people what it feels like to go to a haunted location when you first step in those doors, from the moment you set up the cameras, because a lot of people don't realize that even though the cameras aren't set up, doesn't mean you haven't experienced things before you even got started. Go ahead and give a little bit of that.
So when you go to a haunted location to investigate, like even before you get there, like sometimes, you could feel that energy already. Like as you pull into the driveway, you can feel it shifting. And of course you're excited and and sometimes you can be nervous because you don't know what especially when you're going to a new place, you don't know what to expect. So you got the nerves. Um, and then, but a lot of times when I go to a place, I'll tour the entire place beforehand, and you can feel the different senses in each room. Especially, like for example, when you go to Iron Island Museum, the altar room is, you get that creepy vibe where like you don't even want to step in there. But then, like for me personally, it makes me kind of curious as to go back later. Well, do you have the same vibes later as you had at first? And sometimes the vibes are different. So you got to think to yourself, was it me just having those, excited nerves that I want to get started, or did the vibe of the room actually change? You
Right,
know,
exactly.
and then throughout the investigation, things will change. Like as you're investigating, if the spirit leave, you'll feel energy shift in the room. You know, if you get like that creepy vibe, you might not get that anymore if it shifts.
Right. Now, everybody in the paranormal community uses the word flatlining. Can you kind of explain what flatlining is? I know what it is, but let's explain it to those who don't.
So flatlining is just like where, like for me, like from what I've heard of it, it's basically where all the activity ceases to stop. There's nothing going on. It's like dead in there. And I've had that happen. I've investigated our church sometimes with my friend Debbie, and you'll go in there and you'll have activity going on, and then all of a sudden it'll all stop. You won't feel nothing. It'll just feel like a normal, everyday, average church. And that's just because it just completely goes away.
Right. Now, I know we talk about a lot of technical terms, EMF, EVP.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah. Do you want to kind of explain some of the acronyms that we use and why we use them? Not the acronyms, but why we use the equipment and how we use it.
So for me personally, I'll tell you kind of like I use an EMF meter, and that's the electromagnetic field. I don't even know,
Either.
but like yeah, and like you use that to pick up the different electromagnetic and the energy of, and the spirits actually have that energy with them, so it'll pick that up. Um, Another one would be like the SLS, like an SLS camera.
That's
That's
the word I was looking for earlier. Darn it. SLS. I
yes,
didn't
and
ask my
honestly,
question.
off the top of my head, I can't remember. Static something. I don't remember what the rest of it
It's
is.
static something.
Right. See, something. Um, I can't even tell you.
But that one's used for mapping in entities that aren't
Yep.
actually there. Like you'll see a skeletal figure of some
Yep.
kind mapped in where there's nobody.
Yep. What EVP is electronic voice phenomena. That's basically where you use a digital voice recorder, and you get voices that are actually not there. And I love getting voice. I love using a digital voice recorder. I have some really good EVPs. So
I can't wait for you to show us. I know you've got some video and
yep.
some things to show us. So um, we're going to start getting into that here shortly. Another one of my favorite pieces of equipment is REM pods. I don't know about you, but I love the REM pod. It is one of the hardest devices to manipulate, and you have to be really close to it for it to even register that there's something there. So if you're all the way across the room and there's nothing next to it, there's obviously some kind of activity going on around it if it's lighting up. That's personally my favorite piece of equipment because, like I said, it's one of the harder ones to really manipulate. For you, have you had any kind of REM pod or emotion sensor light device acting unusually or lighting up or responding to an entity's presence?
Yes. So at Greystone Manor, we were using a REM pod in the basement, and that did light up. And
Thank
there you go,
you.
Melissa.
Structured light cycle.
Thank you, Melissa. Um, but so another thing that we use, which is really cool, is when we were at a Greystone Manor in the basement, we set up a dinosaur that was motion censored in the doorway, and it actually went off, and nobody walked through the door. I do have a clip of I have a 4-minute clip of Greystone Manor, and you could actually hear it go off in the clip.
All right, and you know what? We're gonna go ahead and start getting into those clips because I'm excited to see these. So if you want to go ahead and hit the share screen and set up, I will go ahead and approve it so that we can actually watch some of these clips that you have because I'm really curious. You didn't get to show me any of these prior to because
Nope.
usually I have people that'll send me the videos or EVPs or whatever like a week in advance, and so I haven't actually seen any of yours, so I'm excited to see them.
All right. Since we were just talking about the Greystone Manor clip, I'll show that one first.
Okay. I gotta wait for the screen share to come on. That way I can do that.
Hold on, I'm trying to find it.
Oh, you're good. Also, we're going to be starting to premiere. So anybody in the audience that's watching, I'm going to let you know now. We're going to start what we do live investigations for some of our guests that come on to do a live 1 hour investigation. Granted, it's only an hour, but we are going to be doing that starting hopefully in 2 weeks.
Okay, can you see it or no?
Not yet, honey. Did you push the share screen?
I did. Let's try this.
You push it, and then it'll bring up the little screen. You click on that, and then it should ask you to share.
Can you see it now?
You got it. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Now,
All right.
large screen. There we go. Perfect.
All right. You ready?
Yep. Go for it.
So are you one of the family? Can you turn that on? The little dinosaur on?
Flashlight behind going off.
Are you Native American or Indian?
Oh wow! It's literally just sitting there
Are you
lit
one
up.
of the workers that worked on the
Yeah.
farm here? Worked with the horses.
What's the guy that used to hang out down here?
Well, John Root was the
The one the worker, the one that they thought was drunk all the
I
time.
remember.
Mm-hmm.
What was his?
Well, one of your questions you just asked talked on.
Yeah.
And that's the dinosaur going off.
So this is the worker that used to drink all the time. Can you
Was he when
turn?
Maya was here? Is that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you turn one of the lights back on? Verifying that it's you. Yep. It turned it on. Look, both of them.
No, Phil turned the blue light on.
But this one in front of
Yeah,
you.
the one. Thank you.
Okay.
Now it looks like this is a daytime investigation. Is that right?
Daryl.
It was an evening. It was an evening
Is that where
investigation,
you kept your alcohol?
but it wasn't dark yet.
It's shining the light on the barrel.
Okay.
Open the barrel.
Yep, that one that went on.
What's that?
are flashlights in the background.
Moonshine.
Right, and it
Did you
sounded
keep your
like the
moonshine
voice
in the
box
barrel?
or Obulus said shine.
Yeah, it said shine.
Was a bootlegger. Okay, got something right back by
Group.
Group?
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Didn't they have a speakeasy down here?
I don't know if it was a speakeasy. Right by the barrel.
Flashlight for the speakeasy.
Yep.
And the other flashlight.
Yeah. There's something right over here. It was. So go back to the other position you're in. I'm sorry, what's your name? Debbie, go back to that way. It would stay right in front of that tank.
Now, when you go into these investigations like this, do you try to show everybody on camera so that you can show that nobody else is tampering with any of the equipment?
The pipe that we're standing in.
Most of the time, yes.
It's
Either
still
that or
weird.
like
Can
the
you turn one of the
actual,
flashlights on again for us?
like here, like I like to show where you can actually see the equipment, so that way nobody, you can see that no one else tampers with it.
That's his name.
Thank you.
Soldiers. That
What
was
kind of
good.
soldier down here with us?
Eerie Frog says, yuck,
Are they
Ouija board.
Native American soldiers?
Engine.
What did he
was gonna
say?
referring to Indians.
Could be.
Engine.
To
Engine.
verify if they're Indian soldiers, can you turn the flashlight back on?
Where we thought it could have said Indians, because there's Native Americans there too as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, are you using an Obelisk or an SLS? Or Obelisk
It
or a...
was not.
I see
It was an obelisk. It was somebody else's, but it was an obelisk.
So I see the
Okay.
guardians are like 10 foot tall.
Can you see my torch with us? Like Gettysburg?
I can see them all the time.
What did that say?
But I'm a psychic.
I don't remember.
Cowboy and Indians?
You know, some people can.
Cowboy, it's a boy.
Cowboy.
I can see
him, I can't do mine.
Flashlight on.
My cousin can do that.
That's what I mean. Like they're, I see them.
Are you one of the
standing along there
cowboys?
guarding the burial ground.
Did a cowboy put you into the ground?
So it looks like you're getting a lot of activity on this clip so far.
Soldiers that.
Yep.
And the only thing
And that's
the only thing that's kind of a downfall to that particular clip is that it's still so light outside that you can't remove light as an interfering source. Okay, so from that one I heard engine, shine.
Yep.
And there was one other, but that was on the Obulus, and then you could see the lights lighting up almost as if on cue.
Yep.
So, do we want to go ahead and go with the next one?
Yeah.
Let's see.
All right, so this one next is, can you see it? Hang on a second.
I think I'm froze.
So I want to show you
I can still hear you, but my screen's froze, so give me a moment. You can go ahead and play it, because hopefully the rest of everybody can still see things moving. I just can't.
I actually wanted to show a photo of the pinion. So this photo was taken in the basement of where we just saw that video clip. And you can kind of see where the horse is, okay? And then if you go to the next video clip, we actually stopped that video and we took a screenshot of it. Because if you look, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. If you kind of look right here, you can kind of see that picture in the background. And we think of this as a shadow because you can kind of see the head right here. And then you have a shoulder.
We can't see anything. Maria got this.
And then we have.
She got disconnected, so we can't see anything.
Gotcha. But you can still hear, right?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry
All right.
about that. Let's try that again.
That's okay.
There we go. All right. I froze for some.
Okay. Are you unfroze?
Yeah, I'm unfroze now. You're good.
Okay. So I want everyone's opinion on this. So I have two pictures, and we actually did some still shots of that clip that you just watched. Okay. Can you? Okay. So this is. Can you see my photo here?
I can. The two horses?
Okay. Yep. So this is that basement that we were just in that video clip. Okay. And this is what it looked like during the day. And so we took a screenshot of the video we just took. And if you look here, if you can kind of see, like on this left-hand side, I don't know, can you see my little pointer finger?
I can.
Okay, so we feel like there's a shadow figure. Here's the head, and then here's a shoulder, and then here's another shoulder.
Oh.
Do you see it?
Yeah, and we're sure it's not somebody else's shadow?
Nope, that is not a shadow because there was no light behind me.
Oh, okay.
So this was, and if you watch that clip again, you can go to my YouTube video, watch it. You can see that the video will try to focus in on something, and it keeps trying to refocus it. And after watching it and analyzing it, we think it was trying to focus in on the shadow figure.
Oh, okay.
So definitely an interesting clip.
Where I can actually have it on my full screen so I can see it a little better, but yeah.
Yep. Yes. So that's definitely just an interesting thing that we caught. Like, I mean, I'm not sure if it's a shadow or not. That's why I like to ask everyone's opinion on it. So.
Yeah, that's why I initially asked if it was maybe someone's shadow from behind them, but you said there was no light source back there. So.
No, the only light source was the windows on either side, but that shadow figure was actually on top of the pool table.
Oh.
It was in the middle of the pool table. And like the head is all the way up the ceiling. So even if it was a shadow of somebody, it wouldn't be that high up.
Exactly. Absolutely. Now, were there any further clips that you wanted to show?
No clips, but I do have a couple of EVPs to share with you guys.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear them.
So I have two EV clips I'd like to show you, or what I'd like you guys to listen to. And this is from Iron Island Museum, and it is in the Sunday school room. And there's three of us in the building, and you're going to hear three people introduce ourselves, and then you're going to hear a fourth person answer us. And I can play it a few times if you want. But here's. Did you guys hear the fourth hello? I'll play it again.
Yeah, I'm not hearing the audio, honey.
Neither am I. All I'm hearing is squeaking.
All right. I don't know if I can. Hang on a second.
Do you have it on your phone?
No, I'm trying to play it off of the computer. It might not have hit the right share. Let me try it. Did you hear it that time? Did you guys hear that time?
No, and I think Maria's frozen. So,
I guess I won't be. All right, I guess I won't be able to share those with you. I can put it. They are up on my Facebook page though.
your
I'm back
computers have
again.
excuses
Apparently,
today, isn't
Restream
it?
is just not loving me today.
Your computer
So
really loves you.
unfortunately, I won't be able to hear those EVPs, but maybe if you can send them to me separately, I can have you on here again another time because you got, I'm sure, plenty of experiences over 10 years
Yep, definitely.
that we could talk about. And we can play it from my phone's audio directly on and see if that works better.
Yep, definitely.
But I mean, it's been absolutely amazing. I have had a blast. And we are past my hour. And if I could, I'd keep going because I love talking. But I'm going to ask you one last question and then leave the floor open for a moment for Q&As. And then we're going to come to our end. So my last question for this is, what is your top 5 must-see? So what 5 places are on your bucket list?
Waverly Hills is probably number 1. Number 2 would probably be Eastern State Penitentiary. St. Augustine Lighthouse. Winchester Museum in California. And then probably the Stanley Hotel.
Awesome. See, my top 5 is Penhurst State Asylum or Penhurst State School. The Ram Inn I want to go to. Pulveria Island I want to go to. The Haunted Doll Island.
Yes, that's definitely one
You
I
have
want to
fun
go
with that
to.
one without me.
I have to. And
Keep going. I hate those.
I would probably say my number 1 would be, it's actually 2, so it's hard for me to choose between the 2, but the Villisca Axe Murder House and the Lizzie Borden Home. Those are my top 2, so technically I have 6 on my bucket list.
Right.
How about you guys?
Well, mine, I want to go to. God damn it! I gotta say this name right every time I say it. So I'll figure it out because I think of the Harry Potter.
Alcatraz.
Alcatraz. I want to see Alcatraz because I heard there's some demonic shit over there. Okay. I want to check out Auschwitz due to all the murders
Yep.
and all this fucked up shit that happened.
Is it just Auschwitz, or do you want to do Auschwitz and Birkenau? Because they're both.
Yeah, both. I want to do both. Kind of want to check out, see how it feels, see if I get a weird feeling over there.
From what I've heard, all of the concentration camps are extremely active.
I want to check out. I forgot what's that asylum, the one that you said.
Oh, Penhurst State School and Asylum.
Yeah, I want to check out that one. I do want to check out an abandoned hospital. I just don't know any.
There's lots of them, honey.
I know there is. I every time I try to look one up, I can't find one.
Most of them have either been demolished or are used as nursing homes or other facilities.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard.
The most popular, there's one called, I think it's Old South Hospital. That's a
Yeah.
really famous one.
And then my last one, I don't know. I want to kind of go to I want to go to somewhere really fucking haunted, like really fucking haunted and scary. Okay, actually, if I could do it, I would want to go on a ghost ship.
A ghost ship?
It's a
Like the
ship
Queen
that
Mary? Or the Queen Anne?
no, the ones that are drifting in sea out at sea that has no one aboard.
Good luck. I don't think anybody's going to come looking for you.
If
There's a
I could,
reason they're
if
still
I
left
could,
out there.
and I really I want it to be an old warship.
Oh, okay. Well, those, they don't leave sitting out there. They just either sink them or dock them.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's some that are still from World War II.
Yeah.
So Buffalo has a naval park, and we have two haunted ones. We have the USS Sullivan, and I don't remember what the other one is, but I know the USS Sullivan is extremely haunted. So, and they're actually out for repair because they actually started sinking this past summer, so they had to kind of save them. So it was pretty sad thing, but yeah, definitely. I know Ghost Hunters did do the USS Sullivan, and
I
it was
remember
pretty
that
haunted.
episode. I think Ghost Adventures did too.
Mhm.
Where'd Skinwalker go? Your top 5.
Top 5 places you want to go. Ah.
So much work making them think. In the meantime, if you have Q&As, go ahead, post your Q&As, because once we're done, we will be back tomorrow.
Auschwitz, Bismarck, the battleship, USS Nevada, I think it is. No, Arizona, USS Arizona, the one in Pearl Harbor.
Okay, so we got the USS Sullivan, the USS Little Rock, and the Croker at the Naval Park in New York.
Mm.
Sorry, go ahead.
I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a asylum in Australia. Yeah, Australia.
Oh.
And
I want to go to Pavelia Island because of the plague that took place. That's where they took all of the bodies and all of the basically left them there and then burned the island.
Yeah, I heard about that place.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting place to go.
Yeah, they don't let people go there.
I know. That's why it would be.
Now, I gotta imagine. What about like Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
Oh,
The amount of people that were killed that day. Just
even Nagasaki.
and there's like literally imprints of people's shadows in the ground on side of destruction.
Cool.
It's just like
I'd probably imagine that being a pretty dark place, haunting.
Well, that would be my fifth place.
Okay, so those are our top 5. Hey guys, if you have any questions for us, the host or our guests, go for it. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. I will be playing my outro. If there's any questions after the outro, we'll answer them. If not, have a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining us on Ladies of the Paranormal World with your host, Dark Angel.
Thank you.
MIA Skinwalker. And our VVIP today, Denice. Thank you. And
thank you, everybody.
Off we go. Off we go.